Hello and welcome to episode number 102 of the Wise Guys podcast. I am John Tortorelli, Brandon Capozziello, and today we will be. Why are you looking at me funny, buddy?
I thought I was doing the host, but okay, go ahead.
I'll do it today. Today we'll be discussing the NBA playoffs with no J Ray, but we would like to say Happy Mother's Day to all of the amazing mothers out there. We'll also be discussing a little bit of the Los Angeles Rams because before the show, Brandon and I are having a discussion. Brandon, the worst team in the NFC, and you're giving me like that, just like before, that same look, you're scoffing at it, and I was like, what's up?
Music is still going on. You want to
just continue talking. I got it. I can't.
Okay, it's really loud. So you're asking me what the worst team in the NFC is? I mean, yeah, we were having a discussion. You were saying the Buccaneers, and listen, I'm just saying that in terms of the NFC, there are a lot of bad teams. Like when you compare the AFC to the NFC, it's, there's a big, gap in talent and skill set from the teams and even the quarterbacks, to be honest, mostly. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you're talking about the Rams. I like the Rams. You're just taking your shots at it seems like you're taking your shots at my players that I like, I root for, you know what I mean? They just happen to be on those teams. Baker,
that's not a shot at Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, but legitimately, before we talk about the NBA playoffs and Monty Williams being fired too, the Denver Nuggets, Los Angeles Lakers, all of these teams that made it to the conference finals, I do want to ask you the question. I don't know if many people can answer this question about the Rams. Can you name a starter from their championship defense 1 year ago outside of Aaron Donald?
Do you mean like that's currently on the team? Like, because Jalen Ramsey was obviously there. Like, yes. He's one. Bobby Wagner wasn't. Leonard Floyd was.
He's gone.
Yeah, no. It's only the big guns because that's what they built off of.
Yeah, the last one left is Jordan Fuller.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a bunch of. They had the big three, big four, whatever you want to call it, and then they built it off of a bunch of like scrappers, late round picks,
right?
Free agents and stuff like that.
Yes. This is what they're built off of now because it's Aaron Donald guys.
Yeah, they got their championship. Like, so
they could auto generate these names in Madden and won't even notice. But let's get into the show now with the NBA because Monty Williams was fired last night, and I really kind of hated this move. It's unbelievable how nowadays a team that brings in a star in the middle of the season, he gets hurt with no depth and really only 9 games in the regular season to gel, loses to a better team in the second round of the playoffs in 6 games, and the fall guy is the coach. Now, the Suns brought in a new owner, and Matt Ishbia, who bought the team for a record-breaking deal, and it's quite clear, Brandon, he just wants to completely reset here with a new head coach and maybe even a new front office. But to me, I look at this Phoenix team, and I'm kind of just like, I feel bad for Devin Booker in some ways. They bring in Chris Paul, who helped him get to the finals, but now at 38 years old, he might have already played his last game as a Sun. It's been a huge success with CP, but his contract is partially guaranteed, and they can't really trade him with a $30 million deal that is expiring. Your biggest draft pick in the franchise history, DeAndre Ayton, doesn't want to be there. Now, part of Monty Williams' downfall as a coach, and Phoenix at least, was that DA kind of just gave up on him, or at least Monty gave up on DA. And there was a rift as well between him and Jay Crowder. That's why Jay didn't play for the team after being told reportedly that he would be benched this year. But I don't know about you, man. I kind of asked the question, should Devin Booker at least consider wanting out of Phoenix given they don't have any first-round picks this year, and only the next 7 years, they've only got 3 total, and they can only be used in trades. Meanwhile, the team can't really draft with those first-round picks too.
No. Devin Booker should not ask out of Phoenix. Listen, man. This team was in the NBA Finals, not even 2 years ago. They lost in 6 games. They had a record-breaking regular season in terms of wins, and yeah, they broke up the championship team, if you want to call it. And now they're on a new path. They went all in with Kevin Durant. They believe Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are enough to win them a championship. Now, the problems that arose were you added him a little bit too late. Obviously, the trade deadline, right, is in mid-February. You only have a month and a half, 2 months at most. And the worst thing could happen happened. Kevin Durant, unfortunately, bad luck in a pregame warm-up, goes in for a layup, slips, and sprains his knee. And he's out for, like a month, something like that. And he's only able to play, I think, 8 games in total with, DeAndre and Devin Booker and Chris Paul. I think the stat was 8-0 with them. So they couldn't get the chemistry. They couldn't build continuity. And then the worst things happened in the playoffs too. I mean, they got a break. They got the Clippers. Obviously, Paul George wasn't there, but I firmly believe, and I went to that series and I said, you know what? I think at first I was like, the Suns are going to win this in 7, but then I talked myself into it and I got really hyped and really into it and said, you know what? No, the Clippers are taking this. Kawhi Leonard's back. He's reclaiming the throne. And then, another unfortunate thing happened in the playoffs this year, which has been, happening throughout the entire playoffs, which is a star player going down, getting injured. Kawhi goes down, and the Suns are able to win that in, what was it, 5, I think, 6 or 5, whatever it was. Russell Westbrook played out of his mind early, and I truly believe if Kawhi was there, and I think a lot of people see this hindsight, is if just Kawhi was there, I think the Clippers win that in either 6 or 7. Now, if Paul George and Kawhi were there, I think they can win it in 5 or 6 easily on the Suns. I think we all can look back and see that now. And then we move on to, the Nuggets, and Chris Paul goes down. He, per usual base. I hate to say that because I freaking love Chris Paul. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest point guards of all time, top 5 in my opinion. I was really hoping and rooting for him to win a championship, and he goes down again, and it's because he's 37, 38 years old now. He came into the league, small, slight of frame, 6 feet, doing it for the little guys under 200 pounds. And that body just can't take a lot. I mean, you see LeBron James at 6'9", 260, 270. He's starting to break down now. Chris Paul, it's going to happen, and it just sucks. And then they basically went dolo with Book and KD. DeAndre Ayton was no-show for a lot of the series. He gets injured. Then it's just KD and Book, and that's not enough. It's not enough. So, no. Should Devin Booker ask out? No. That's ridiculous. In my opinion, you went out and got KD. They believe KD and Book are enough to win a championship, and I do believe that they should be enough to win a championship. Now they have to build around those two guys. They know what they need to do. There's been rumors that apparently they're looking for Chris Paul suitors. They're looking for DeAndre Ayton suitors. I think I heard the report was they're aggressively looking for DeAndre Ayton suitors out there. I think there'll be people out there for DeAndre Ayton. We talked about this. Are they going to get a massive haul? No. Nobody's saying that. They just need to get something. They need to get off his contract, and they need to get him off the team. It's like I said with Westbrook and the Lakers. Addition by subtraction. You get rid of a bad egg. Not saying Ayton's a bad egg. He just does not fit that scheme, that team.
He does. He's just soft.
Okay, if you can make that case. But yeah, get him off the team. And then with Chris Paul, you have a meeting with Chris Paul, and if you're able to discuss a pay cut, that'd be great. If you're not, you're probably going to have to move on. I don't know what you'll be able to get from him.
Nothing.
But yeah, it's. I still believe the Suns are going to be looked at in next year. They're going to be a top 4 or 5 team in the West. Because they're going to rebuild, and they're going to get rotation players that actually fit this team and really exude the strengths of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
Well said.
And the new head coach. I forgot to mention that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Which I think one of the two possibilities is Mike Budenholzer, who was born in Arizona, or Nick Nurse, if NHBO really wants to pay the big bucks. Because, Brandon, they're going to have Monty Williams' $25 million contract on the payroll with this new coach.
There's also sorry to cut you off, but I saw a rumor that apparently they want to aggressively try and lure Ty Lue away from the Clippers.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen is in the NBA, you don't need 2 or 3 stars to win a championship. As we're seeing with the Nuggets, you have to build around your stars properly. And to credit James Jones, bringing in Chris Paul was a home run. But now that that era has passed, we've seen the Suns' inability to support Devin Booker through the draft. And throughout his time with the Suns, his coaching has always been a dumpster fire. It wasn't until they hired Monty Williams in 2019, going into his 5th year, that he finally got a proven, established head coach. And Monty helped lead them to the finals in his 2nd year at the team. Back in the bubble, he helped exude the confidence into a young team that really needed the right type of leader that could develop talent. And if they don't get Nick Nurse, I don't think they're upgrading with Mike Budenholzer. I honestly think Mike Budenholzer, you can make the case as a worse head coach than Monty Williams. And what it really comes down to is I don't know if they can really rebuild this team much. I've made DeAndre Ayton mock trades, right? And here are the best options the Suns can get for DA. If they want to take John Collins off the Hawks' hands and get him and Bogdanovich for DeAndre Ayton and Landry Shamet. Or they could trade DeAndre to the Mavericks, get Maxi Kleber, JaVale McGee, and Tim Hardaway Jr., Davis Bertans. Or, no, that's it. Like, that would be the big salary to take on DA for 2 decent role players.
Yeah, which I think is a massive win. I mean, you say John Collins and Bog, that is great compensation for DeAndre Ayton. I mean, I know these guys aren't going to be life changers, but those are 2 pretty good players. Mm-hmm. I know Collins has had his shortcomings, but Bogdanovich is a guy who can make his shots. He's not afraid to take the shot. So I'm not mad at that. The Mavericks one, maybe. I mean, if it comes down to it, but yeah, there's plenty of suitors out there. Even if it's a suitor for a crappy team like the Utah Jazz is just trying to, build for the future, or the Wizards obviously always are in contention to take a contract on. But you know what I mean? Like there's a sucker born every day, and I think they'll be able to get off Ayton. I know you're down on it. I mean, by down, what do you mean? Like, do you think they're going to finish with a worse record than they did this year?
I do. I think next year they're going to try to raise their ceiling, and they're not going to be this regular season juggernaut that they were in 2022. Yeah, in 2023 they'll have a better record, sure, but Devin Booker missed like 30 games this year, which is why they only won 45 games.
They won 45 games, so over or under 45 next year, John, for the Phoenix Suns.
I would go with the over, but generally, given the last 2 years, it's not going to be 55 to 64 wins.
No, and I don't think you need that. Like that's not obviously going to be the case because KD is probably going to play 60, 65 games maximum. Book, if he's healthy, he'll play 60, 65 games. And yeah, I think 45 over under. I would probably take the over 48 games, one next year, because I do think that they're gonna. And if they get Nick Nurse is a big upgrade. No offense to Monty Williams, because he's a very likable guy, but Nick Nurse is a better head coach than Monty Williams. I think that's a good fit, and I would take that. I think the Suns would be massive winners to get Nick Nurse. You get off DeAndre and get a couple. Biyombo is, I'm sorry, he's just not going to work. But get a guy who is going to be a physical defender, and rebound the ball, disrupt in the paint. If you're getting off Chris Paul, you get a young point guard, maybe get a veteran point guard to back him up, and you surround with shooters too, 3-and-D guys.
Is Kevin Durant getting rightfully criticized given the last 2 years in the playoffs? He's far underperformed given his regular season standard.
Like, I'm not seeing the criticism. What criticism are we talking about? I'm not seeing that.
Maybe it's too much of the legacy talk, but should Kevin Durant be held more accountable for, in the last 2 years, him well underperforming what we expect from a top 5 player in the NBA? Or should we kind of give him a little bit of a pass considering he was coming off injuries?
So I'm not the biggest fan of Kevin Durant. I don't hate Kevin Durant. I don't have hate for really anybody except for Zaza Pachulia. He's one person that I do despise because he ruined Kawhi Leonard's career. But that's another story for another day. In terms of Kevin Durant, this year I give him a little bit of a pass. I mean, like I went into it, they weren't able to build continuity. He got injured, blah, 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 brand new team. Like 8 games together to really grow something. You're not going to be able to. That's very difficult. But Brooklyn, yeah, I don't give him a pass for that getting swept last year. Like that happened. That you were the leader of that team, you got swept. Because all I heard the year before that, um, especially with John, we've had this debate was KD by himself took the Bucks, the eventual champions, 7 games and would have won the game if not, if he wore a size 12 instead of a 13 shoe. Right, they would have won the game. So if you're able to do that, and the year later you're not able to do that, and you have Kyrie on the team now, that's a flag. So yeah, I mean, I've never been the highest on KD. I've always said KD is not going to be a. I know it's a bad thing to say, but he's never been a real number one on a championship team. I hate to say that. He might have 2 Finals MVPs, people, but Steph Curry was the driver of that bus. I hate to use the Charles Barkley thing, but that is what it is. I truly do believe that was Steph Curry's team. In my case, I've always held this belief that KD needed the Warriors or quote unquote Steph Curry more than they needed him. I truly do believe that. I never bought in to the bullshit that I don't know where it started. Draymond started it. Warriors fans started it, or Cleveland Cavaliers fans started it. The Warriors were not going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers without Kevin Durant. I think Draymond started that. That's bullshit because you had a 3-1 lead. Okay, you had there were things happened. I'm not saying that, but things happened in that series that if they didn't happen, we'd probably be having a different discussion right now.
And part of
the Draymond getting suspended, Andrew Bogut getting injured, I believe Iguodala getting injured for a game. If things like that don't play out, we're probably talking the Warriors are the greatest team ever to be assembled that year because they were 73-9. But yeah, I never bought into that, John. You agree with me. I never bought into the Warriors were never going to cut. Like you're telling me, so the Cavs were just going to blow through them. I didn't.
And part of his outro to Golden State was his torn Achilles in 2019. And look, since that injury, he's been hurt every single season consistently. 2021, he wasn't, but he ran out of gas at the end. Part of the question I asked before, should Devin Booker consider wanting out of Phoenix, really comes down to his number 2 being an injury-prone 35-year-old. Kevin Durant was MVP this season. I thought he was top 4 for me up until he got hurt. But if he's going to get hurt again next year, maybe multiple times, and you don't have any depth on the roster, what does Devin Booker do when he has a hamstring injury in January and they go 1 of 8 without him, the way they did this year, sliding down the standings, completely like it was a water slide? And that happens every single year. It's going to continue happening with Kevin Durant-led teams. We saw it in 2022 and 2023. So now his teams in the playoffs have to face a tougher opponent in the first round like the Clippers. And you don't have the support around them because the Suns have very little draft resources and almost no cap space to use. The only notable exception that they have, they've got 2 of them actually, as a biannual for $4 million and a taxpayer mid-level exception for 5. That's barely going to be enough to retain Jacques Landale, your backup center. And then with a $5 million taxpayer, the best player against Kobe White, who's pretty good, but I even still don't know if they can get a guy that damn good for that little money. So at the end of the day for the Suns, this team is going to be reliant on 2-star players. And what it shows to us in today's day and age is, look, the NBA is making it out so that tax-paying teams with 2 or 3 stars on these max contracts aren't the grand all be-all. As fans, we love it. But what wins championships is the best designed teams. And I feel like Monty Williams being fired by the Suns is just a symptom of the real issue. They failed the draft. They haven't paired Devin Booker alongside a number 2 that fits his timeline. And of course, he's had pretty good ones that don't. And now it's starting to kind of add up to them. Whereas a team like the Denver Nuggets that have drafted well and acquired role players that accentuate what their star does well can go to the finals this year. And that's the exact difference between these 2 franchises. So let's talk about a team that did build around their star properly. The Denver Nuggets, Brandon, have made it to the Western Conference Finals. It's kind of funny to me. All year long, people have talked about, well, what if the Nuggets don't make it to the NBA Finals? What if they don't make it to the conference? What if they don't make it to the second round? What if they get knocked out? All I've heard is, what if they don't? But never did really people talk about what if they do make it to the conference finals. A lot of people had the Suns beating them in the second rounds, and I said to myself, this team is too well built. And I've most importantly been blown away, Brandon, by Michael Malone. I don't know if you've listened to his interviews during games, but the guy's locked in this postseason, and he has done a fabulous job with his second unit. A much better job keeping his team engaged. The Nuggets in the past have had very bad sequences, moments defensively, but this year in the postseason, against the Suns in the first rounds, they played as good of a defense outside of their game 4 loss, where they're hemorrhaging one open three after another, as he can against Devin Booker playing like Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant playing alongside him. Those two guys had to score 82 points combined to barely edge out the Nuggets, even on the road. So I look at this Denver team. They're playing the Lakers in the conference finals. And I want to take a step back for a second to appreciate the best offensive big we've ever seen. Because at this point with Jokic, it's unbelievable his mid-range shooting. I mean, his 1-foot flip shots, floaters, and jump hooks are automatic. This year he shot 61% on them. Again, something he's damn near done for his entire career. At the rim, he's one of the best rebounders offensively. And dude, his second jump as well, he gobbles every single offensive rebound for putbacks. And you would think for a guy that's not known as an athlete, he wouldn't be getting so many second and third time jumps and tip-ins. He's playing volleyball out there. And that's not even to discuss his playmaking, because what Michael Malone instilled since he came in for this team in 2016 is off-ball movement. And so they've got all these flare and down screens opening up Michael Porter Jr., who's slowly but surely living up to this expectation of a max player and a number 3. Jamal Murray doesn't have to play well because we got KCP coming off action and killing transition. The question is this Denver Nuggets team being overlooked? And how do you feel about them going into this Western Conference rematch versus the Los Angeles Lakers starting on Tuesday in the Mile High?
Well, yeah, to start off, I mean, I thought Denver, when we had the conversation Denver versus Phoenix, I was going back and forth. I was like, this is going to be a tough series. I thought it was going to go 7, but I did pick Denver in the end of it because of what you said, the continuity that they built around their stars and their guys. Now we got Denver versus LA. Now, I was the only one really on the show that had the faith in the Lakers. You were telling me it's not possible. It's not going to happen. Justin was saying they're too inconsistent. It's not going to happen. It did. I've been going back and forth again with this series. This one is another tough series because I do believe Jokic is making the game look very easy. Right? He is. It is. Like you've said, it's unbelievable to watch the man that he can barely jump on a curb. Okay, and he's out there dominating the game of basketball. But he's going up against a guy who, while offensively he has been hit and miss this playoffs, defensively he has not been. Defensively, Anthony Davis has been the best defensive player in the league in these playoffs. He has. Mm-hmm. His motor is not running low defensively. That's going to be a tough matchup for Jokic. I'm not saying AD is going to shut him down. I'm saying he can make it very tough, make it very difficult on Jokic, maybe slow him down a little bit. Maybe have, those numbers instead of being 60% from the field or 55%, maybe, 48, 47. And on the other end, I mean, I feel like if AD's motor isn't even running high, he should be able to get 20 points on Jokic. Like, I'm sorry, but we know Jokic's liabilities on defense. Anthony Davis should be able to, in his sleep, get 20 points on Nikola Jokic. That's with a low running motor. He should be able to get 20.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yes.
Okay.
Much so.
I don't.
Nikola Jokic, his weakness is hemorrhaging, giving up mid-range shot making, and AD is one of the most inconsistent and unreliable mid-range shooters in the game. Jokic is best against bigs. We're going to try to pummel you down to the rim, and against a roll man like AD is not going to punish you in the short roll oftentimes. I think it's actually a great defensive matchup for Nikola, who this year in the postseason, Brand, he's had to chase around Devin Booker, hedging ball screens, and Anthony Edwards at times. The Lakers don't have a wing like that that's going to punish you coming off a ball screen and pick and roll. But at the same time, outside of LeBron, who's oftentimes going to be taking a backseat role earlier on in the game, I don't think the Lakers are going to vehemently attack him. Now, they will get him into some fouls because they draw the most fouls in the league, but I don't think he's going to be exploited as much as he was versus the Suns, and he held up pretty damn good. They defended Phoenix very well. Those are two teams in the Lakers and Suns that both don't have really high-end shot making around their two stars. They're both at times consistent, but by and large, they're below average deep shot making teams.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think they're going to line up AD a lot, feed him early and often in the post on Jokic, and there's nowhere for Jokic to hide. He's going to have to match up one-on-one with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is not DeAndre Ayton. Anthony Davis is not Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert. This is Anthony fucking Davis we're talking about. This is a guy who can average 28 in his sleep. All right, and he's go ahead.
What does Jokic do best defensively, you think?
I mean, he's got a very high basketball IQ. I know that much.
What does he do best defensively?
You tell me. What does he do best defensively?
In the post.
Okay.
The strongest players in the league, BC. What's he going to do well against AD? Guard him in the post. They're not going to try that against Nikola. He's an issue in space.
Okay, so you don't think
That's
what do you so I'm trying to understand where you're coming from here, right? Because I don't understand what you're trying. I'm saying Nikola Jokic's weakness is obviously on the defensive end.
But where on the defensive end is the question?
It doesn't matter. Defensively, he is not a good defender. He's not a good defender. I've seen it. He's not a good defender. That's
if you
fine.
watch Nikola Jokic defensively, what does he struggle the most doing? Guarding in space against teams like the Warriors.
Playoffs, man. This is the playoffs. Okay, I'm telling you right now. I'm really trying to understand because you're basically saying, because I've seen it I saw it against the Warriors, then match up Draymond and AD and then feed AD in the post. I saw it. I saw that happen. Okay? I saw it in the playoffs against JJJ. That guy, the defensive player of the year. Match up with Anthony Davis. In the post. Jokic is not on Draymond or Triple J's level. And go look at the numbers.
Look at the numbers. Anthony Davis had a stinker every other off game offensively.
He did against top-level defenders. Two of the best defenders probably in the league right now. Is Jokic, let me ask you a simple yes or no question. Is Nikola Jokic overall defensively on Triple J or Draymond's level? Are they even in the same stratosphere?
He's like 3 tiers below them.
Okay, then. That's all I'm saying. Can Jokic give him a little trouble because he's heavy in the bottom side and he's going to match up physically wise with AD? Athletically, he's not, but physically he can match up size-wise, yes. But Anthony Davis should be able to get whatever the hell Anthony Davis wants. I'm sorry. This Anthony Davis. This ain't DeAndre Ayton like you were talking about last series, and I fully agree with you now. This is Anthony Davis.
The Suns are a different team than the Warriors, the Lakers. And what you're going to see in this matchup, Brandon, is the Nuggets are going to run a lot. And they're going to do everything they can, and they're going to succeed in getting Anthony Davis out of the paint. Nikola, from the top of the key in the high block, is a surgical playmaker. But in this postseason, after the Timberwolves series where he was still healing from a wrist injury, he's been shooting better on those top of the key threes. And if you're getting that up wide open, you're going to see games where Jokic hits 4 or 5 threes. So if you're taking AD out the paint, now he's got to run more. He's going to run out of a little bit more gas. And he's also going to be less impactful as a rim protector where he's clearly at his best.
You're arguing a different point now. You're arguing a different point. I told you offensively, Jokic is making the game look easy. I'm not talking about that side.
He's going to make Anthony Davis work more defensively.
Yeah, he's going to. Yes, they're both going to make each other work. It works on both sides.
He's going to have less stamina defensively and on offense as well to create for himself, where this series is going to be more of a track race.
John,
the Nuggets have been getting stops, and if they're making your guys run more, you're just going to have less to give on offense.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. They're both going to make each other work, okay? Because when you're usually the two big men, these dominant big men, you're going to match up one-on-one with each other most of the time. There usually is not going to be that much switching when it comes to big men. You can get it here and there, but for the majority of the time, usually you're matching up mano a mano. They're both going to make each other work. I do believe that, yes. Now, if you ask me this, who can make it more difficult on who defensively? I'm going to say AD can make it more difficult on Nikola Jokic than Jokic can make it on Anthony Davis defensively. That is just because Anthony Davis is a all-world defender and Nikola Jokic is not. That's something I think universally we can all agree on. That's not a crazy statement. I truly do believe that. I'm sorry. But you're starting to argue another point, which I actually agree with. So again, if I didn't say something, I don't act like I'm not agree. I agree with you. Yes, I've brought up Denver's home court advantage throughout the playoffs. I said it was going to be very difficult for the Phoenix Suns in Denver. Okay, especially because of KD's age and the stamina running up and down the court in that high altitude. I said going into this series, when Denver looked like they were going to win the series against the Suns and they were on a collision course with the Warriors or the Lakers, I said, Lakers and Warriors, hell, man, that's going to be tough to win in Denver. I got it written down right here. It's going to be tough to win in Denver because you got LeBron James, who is 38 years old. His conditioning is going to be tested. And you got Anthony Davis, who, like you said, it seems like he's always hurt all the time too. Is going to be tested. And we've seen this is a very underlooked stat in this playoffs. John, the Denver Nuggets have 3 losses in these playoffs. Where have all 3 of those losses taken place? On the road. On the road. That's something to very, very look at for Denver. They have a great home court advantage. They were under 500 on the road during the regular season. All 3 of their losses in the playoffs have been on the road. That's going to be a tough task as well for them to go to LA and to win that. It seems like they are different. I don't know if it have a lot to do with that altitude where when they get out of there, now the other team is playing like they actually can play. I don't know if that has to be the case. I would not be surprised if it did because Denver, you talk to any athlete, you listen to any athlete that has fought, played, or whatever the hell in Denver, they'll tell you it's different. Oh, it's different. We saw it. You saw it firsthand. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards too. You saw firsthand Leon Edwards couldn't get out. That wasn't in Denver, but that was in Utah. They have high altitude in Utah. It's very similar. But yeah, I agree with you. That on the road for Denver and at home for I should say at home for Denver, I honestly expect them to probably take care of business. LA, the pressure is going to be on them on the road. They need to win both those games. It really comes down to that saying that you've brought up a couple of times throughout this playoffs. The series don't start till the road team wins. And I think it's going to come down to that this series because it's going to be, can Denver steal one in LA? Can LA steal one in Denver? It's going to be tough. We know LeBron has been dealing with I think he came into the playoffs with a right ankle injury and now his left ankle is bothering him. We know he's dealing with a lot, right? He doesn't look right. He doesn't have that same burst. Anthony Davis, like you alluded to, I'm not just, he has been stinker everywhere offensively every other game. The last couple of games offensively, though, in Golden State, he has shown up. He hasn't been needed in a couple of those games, but he has at least, shot well. It's defensively where he is, at his apex right now. But yeah, I do expect this to go 7. I don't know about you. I expect this to go 7 games.
This series is going to be a movie.
Yeah. Oh, but now you agree. I want you to so John, I'm going to ask you this. What happened? How did we get here with the Los Angeles Lakers where you were saying before the playoffs, Brandon, it's not going to happen? Yeah, it's not. You kept cracking your little side jokes, taking shots. Yeah, but it's never going to happen. They're not going to see that team there. So what happened? How did we get here?
The Lakers are pulling off one of the better in-season turnarounds in NBA history. They tied the 78 Seattle Supersonics to the team to make the conference finals with the worst record in the first 12 games of their year, 2-10. And I think what we forget, Anthony Davis against Nikola Jokic for a second time gets injured on December 16th. The Lakers at that point were under 500. In the midst of his absence, Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves on the same day each get rolled out for upwards to a month with 2 separate injuries. So what happens? Well, Thomas Bryant morphs into an all-star apparently for a couple weeks. Russell Westbrook starts to play really well off the bench, and LeBron averages 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists after turning 38 years old. And the Lakers treaded above water. When AD comes back, Brandon, with just 9 games alongside LeBron this winter, LeBron tears a tendon in his right foot. And this is in the midst of D'Angelo Russell missing time with an ankle injury. And Jared Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis say, you know what? We're going to be the best defense in the West the last month and a half of the year. And that's exactly what they did. They were the best defense with the best front court. They made it to the play-in tournament as the 7 seed. And in that play-in game, Brandon, they were down by double digits late in the third quarter. They come back and win that game. So now they get a 2-7 matchup with one of my favorite teams. I've got 2 or 3. I've got favorite players. And Ja Morant gets hurt in game 1, a loss. And ultimately in game 2, I mean, the Lakers just didn't really come to play. Grizzlies take care of business. After that, it was over. Anthony Davis was phenomenal in that series. He averaged, close to 5 blocks, and more importantly, was just all over. There was nothing the Grizzlies could do to get him out of the paint because they know shooting. And then they make it to the second round versus the Golden State Warriors. And we're all saying, well, the Warriors are the defending champions. They've got Steph. They've got all these shooters, so they're going to obviously outgun the Lakers. But the opposite happened. The physical team in 2023 dominated inside, did a phenomenal job, and benefited as well from Kevon Looney and Andrew Wiggins not being 100% and Klay Thompson not being at his best. But what it really came down to for the Lakers was they've been the most physical team. They've got LeBron late in games. He may not be an initiator in the first 3 quarters, but when there's a minute left, you're going to have the ball in his hands, and you're damn sure he saved the energy to make a big-time play. So, after thoroughly dominating the Grizzlies and the Lakers in Game 6, I mean, a 30-point domination, they find themselves in the conference finals, much like the Celtics last year, except none of us thought the Lakers were really going to make it here. And I want to give them some credit because I didn't think they were going to make it here either.
Can I get credit?
You said they could beat the Kings in the first round of the playoffs.
Whoa. No. Let's revisit this, right? Because when Russell Westbrook got traded to the Clippers, I jumped off that train, right? I stayed on the Clippers with my preseason pick. When they traded for Russ, I jumped off that train.
Right.
Then when we did our predictions for the playoffs, I didn't know in the West. I was like, man, this is so freaking difficult to pick, right? Who the hell is going to get there? I stayed with Boston all the way through, but my initial pick was I'm almost positive I said the Lakers can get all the way there. I really do think I said that. Then we get to what happened? Then we get to my point where I got back on the Clippers train because they performed in the high level, but then Kawhi went down and I had to drop that again, which was very sad for Brandon. But I just wanted to say, let's give Brandon a little bit of credit here because I was the only one on this show that said the Lakers could make this run because I'm not going to bet against a LeBron James-led team.
And to talk about LeBron James-led teams, when him and Anthony Davis have been healthy, they've yet to lose a playoff series. Anyone want to know something, Brad? That's changing the series. I've got the Nuggets in 7 games.
Got them.
And look, this is going to be a grudge match. There are going to be ugly games, and there are also going to be awesome ones. But the ugly ones are still going to be the best series to watch. Look, every time the Nuggets play in the playoffs, what's called box office. People like to use that term. But back in 2019, Brandon, against the Portland Trailblazers in the second round, everybody knew what the Warriors are about to do to the winner of that series. And yet still, everybody loves watching these two smaller market, the Nuggets aren't small market teams, go toe-to-toe, just punching the shit out of each other. Pardon my French, to 7 games. One of the best, most memorable Game 7 series in my time as a fan. That was their first ever rodeo in the playoffs. Nikola Jokic was 23 years old at the time, or 24. The next year, they go to the conference finals, and they lose in 5 games, but it was a super competitive 5-gamer. It had to take Anthony Davis hitting a huge game winner as time expired in Game 2, Game 3, for it to not go to 6 or 7 games. And the following year, they're going up against Dame and CJ again in the playoffs, and they beat them with the worst starting backcourt I've seen in my life. So every time you've seen this team in the playoffs, it's gotten better and better. And this year, they finally got a team around Jokic. And I'm telling you right now, I've seen a lot of bozos on the internet saying it's a solo action with just Nikola Jokic, and it couldn't be further from the truth. This team is just perfectly built around their star player. And even defensively, where there are some concerns when they finish the year off 7-10, everyone's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Nikola Jokic goes from the clear winner, the clear MVP favorite, to no, he doesn't deserve it. He gets 6 votes total for the first place votes. And then next thing we know, in the playoffs, every time they win, their defensive rating is 94 points, 101, 104, all super elite markers against the best wing duo in the world. This Nuggets defense is really damn good. They've got no liabilities. Even Nikola Jokic played well in these first 2 series, and I really don't think he is in this type of sequence, in this type of series, a liability. Against the Warriors, yeah, he is. Against the Suns, he could be in the past. But I think right now, with how good of a team they've built around Nikola, because they've got so many athletes with length that are tough and they like to play hard, I don't think he's going to be exposed in this series. He may have a bad sequence, he may have a bad quarter, but I don't think he's going to kill them on that end the way he did 1 year ago against the Warriors.
Yeah, listen, one thing too to look at is these two teams haven't played each other since January 9th. AD and LeBron James didn't play in that game. So Denver has not seen this new look Lakers, right? This series is going to be tough. I'm going to go again. I do think LeBron is a little hampered. He was able to summon it up in Game 6 against the Warriors, really show up and show out. I don't know how often he can do that. I'm going to say the teams take care of their business at home this series. So we're going to go 2-2, 2-2, 1-1. Denver wins it in Game 7 and goes to the championship.
I was hoping you'd say Lakers in 7.
I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers are able to win this series. It would not shock me at all. And I think, honestly, if you put John alive, Decker, it wouldn't shock him either because it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But I'm going to say the Denver Nuggets have the continuity. They have the talent to go with it.
And KCP.
Yeah. KCP. He might know some tricks and trades of LeBron James. He was on that championship team in the Lakers.
He was finishing like Kyrie in Game 6. The up and under.
When he did the up and under, you were like, "Oh, it's one of those games, huh? It's one of those games." I think if there's one team we should not forget because this is a major talking point. The Warriors. The season ends. I think this is their obviously since the discounting the play-in loss. I believe this is the earliest they've been eliminated since the start of the
2014.
Dynasty. Yep. So I want to. This is what I want to say about the dynasty. I can't say it's over. Do I think they'll win another chip? Odds are they aren't. Right? Odds are they aren't. But you can't bet against this team. I'm sorry, you can't. The odds were stacked against them last year. They won the championship. The odds were stacked against them this year. They got to the second round of the playoffs. I can't bet against this team. For me, honestly, I've been saying I think Draymond might be over in Golden State for Draymond. I think I might have to go back on that. I think Draymond actually might stay. I think Jordan Poole might be out at Golden State. Honestly, I think that's right.
But
what was that?
I don't know how to describe what just happened to Jordan Poole.
Oh, a kid who was on top of the world last year. On top of the world. All right. You contribute to a dynasty team to help them win a championship. You get paid a lot of money. What was it? 140 million?
128.
128. That's a lot of fucking money. You're young. You're brash. We know Jordan Poole is confident as hell. This is not a knock. He thinks he is one of them. He thinks he is Klay Thompson or Steph Curry. He thinks he's on that level. Young brother. Those two have been there and done that. They had to earn their stripes, okay, to get to the level those two guys are at right now. And I'm not liking the disrespect towards Klay. So that needs to cut it out. listen, had a bad series, had a bad game, shit happens. They lock in, they're going to move on to next year. Jordan Poole's body language, very Julius Randle-esque, very DeAndre Ayton-esque, like you said too.
Bad camp to be part of.
I truly do believe Jordan Poole is going to be out. I think he is the bad egg. It's just, I think maybe we overlooked it. You know, early in the season, we thought this championship team could get through it, but maybe that punch meant more than a lot than we initially thought, and they can't get through it. We know the reports have been out there. We've even seen it on camera. Jordan Poole literally walking past Draymond Green, not wanting to, and Steph Curry having to get in his ass. It's not good, man. That's not good. And it's not good also when it correlates exactly with your playing time decreasing and your opportunities decreasing. That's not good either, because that's basically what you're saying is, oh, I care if we win as long as I get mine. And that's not a championship mentality. Another thing that's not a championship mentality is having a bad game, not having a lot of minutes, and going up in the presser, not in the locker room, and turning your back to the media and answering questions facing the other way. And I think one of his quotes was, it's not the shots that have changed or me that it's changed, it's the opportunities have changed. Basically saying, yeah, I'm calling out Steve Kerr. He's taking away my opportunity. It's not my fault. Don't look at me. It's them. No, it's you. You're sporadic when you play offense, okay? And the way you play offense, if it's not fallen, it's
destructive.
Destructive is the right word. It's a detriment to that team. And when he's on, it's great and it's freaking entertaining as hell. But when it's off, destructive. And defensively, you're not giving anything. You're being attacked. So I truly do believe, I'm honestly saying, I think Draymond should stay. I think Jordan Poole should go.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Poole played 20 minutes per game, Brandon, and fouled out in damn near every other squad, every other night. And, look, there is one issue with the Warriors, and it's that we were talking before about teams that are perfectly built around their stars. Klay Thompson just didn't play well in their second round matchup, right? And the issue with that is when he's not making shots, him and Jordan Poole both are killing you with their shot selection. When they're hitting them, yeah, I mean, the offense is unstoppable. But this year, the Warriors were a 44-win team, and they've committed, let's check. $167 million to Steph, 128 to Poole, 109 to Wiggins, 43 for 1 year left on Klay Thompson's deal, and Draymond Green also has a player option for $28 million. Those are 5 guys on max salaries, and you barely squeaked out the play-in tournament this regular season. We're coming to a point, Brandon, where the new collective bargaining agreement is tailor-made to end dynasties and super teams. Some of the things that they've added in are, you're not going to be able to use your mid-level exception. So a Dante DiVincenzo would not be eligible for the Warriors to sign, meaning they can only bank on veteran minimum contracts with this current team. Secondly, Brent, in trades, you're no longer going to have the autonomy to trade a pick 7 years out. So think of the Kevin Durant blockbuster move, right? Let's say the Warriors want to parlay Jordan Poole, Brandon, into a star making $40 million. Well, very soon they won't be able to, because they can't match. They can't take 2 contracts and aggregate them to match or meet the salary of another star player. So I used the Kevin Durant trade as an example. You need to put together 3 players to get within 75% of the cap number that Kevin Durant makes a year. But if you're over the second tax apron now, you can't do that. You can't trade the pick 7 years out. But you also, this right here is crazy, have your first round pick pushed back to the end of the draft. To the back end, regardless of where you finish in the standings, if you're above the second tax apron in 2 of 4 years. So the NBA is making teams like Golden State consider, hey, do we just get underneath the tax in 3 or 4 years so we can assuage these detriments? And I think the answer to that question at some point will probably be yes, if you're not making it deep into the regular season at 50 wins. And then in the playoffs, you're not getting to the conference finals. But like you did say, I mean, the Warriors aren't done. Steph Curry this year at 35 arguably had his best regular season. Klay Thompson made the most threes of his career. Jonathan Kuminga, who played a lot in the regular season, is showing legitimate upside. Let's say he misses, he's Jeff Green, which is pretty damn good of a role player. Moses Moody's showing good signs. Dante DiVincenzo is probably gone, but I mean, you have your first round pick this year, which is at 19. You can get yourself a Dante DiVincenzo replacement that's cheaper and maybe more durable. And you've also got Gary Payton, who was truly awesome for them this postseason. He was actually a clip of him throwing up in his mouth and holding it, which was disgusting. Sorry for any reviewers out there. They're eating during the show, but his mom comments, she's like, beast. And like, that's so Gary Payton family-esque. Like, the guy is he's a 6'3" power forward. You don't see that. And he fits the system like a glove. The question, though, is, did Draymond Green play his last game as a Warrior? And the answer to that question could be yes, if he opts out of his contract. If he opts in, we'll get one more year of Dre. So I'm looking forward to this offseason. It could really shake up the league if a guy like Draymond decides, I want to get paid this summer.
He's not opting out. How much is the cut player option you said?
28. What if a team like the Rockets that lacks a leader says, you know what, Draymond, we've got $30 million left over after signing a James Harden. We want to give you a 4-year max for $100 million. You don't think you would accept that if the Warriors are offering him much less money to live in San Francisco, California?
Well, no, I'm saying I don't think he's opting out. I think Draymond's more about winning than I don't think he'd want to be in Houston, if I'm going to be honest with you. He's
already done everything he can to win. He's won 4 championships.
Yeah, but again, we've had this conversation about Tom Brady. It doesn't matter. They want more. Winners, people who are winners, people who have power, people who have great money, you know what they are, John? You know what they all have in common? They're greedy. They want more. That's it. It is.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not maybe. That's what it is. But yeah,
talking about pretty people. The Miami Heat just continue to rub off mid-2000s Detroit Pistons vibes. Brandon, they make it to the conference finals for a third time in 4 years. Jimmy Butler wasn't 100% even still, but now he gets a few more days of rest as they face off the winner of tonight's Boston Celtics-Philadelphia 76ers matchup. Okay, they've made it to the conference finals, Brandon. But here's the question. Who do you want to win tonight? Who would you rather face?
It sucks Justin isn't here with us, but he's celebrating Mother's Day with his wonderful mother, so I'm not going to give him too much shit for that. Who do I want? I'm going to fuck. Because we could take either of those teams. We can beat Boston. We can beat Philly. I'm telling you that right now. All right? Philadelphia, I was begging for us to face in the first round because I know what we can do to Philadelphia. Boston will be a little bit tougher, but guess what? Boston should have never won 7 games with Philadelphia. And I've seen too many times in this playoffs vulnerabilities in Boston that Miami and especially Coach Spo will take advantage of. So I'm confident in either team. I don't care who wins this game. If you ask me who do I think's going to win this game, I think it's going to be Boston. I think Boston should win this game. It's in Boston. I know Philly just won a game in Boston, but listen, TD Garden is a tough place to play no matter what. And it's going to be very difficult for the Philadelphia 76ers to win this game in Boston. And I just think the pressure, I know I just sounded redundant there. I know the pressure is going to be mounting on Boston, but I think that Doc Rivers too. What is it now? 3-1 leads. He's blown. I don't even know this stat. And I think he's also blown. Yeah, and he's also blown a bunch of 3-2 leads, I think.
Oh, he's good at that too. I think he's blown 10 different leads in the series.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Mr. Doc Rivers, who I like a lot, but it's just it's become apparent. You know, the numbers don't lie. It's out there for you to see.
Common denominator.
Yeah, common denominator. So yeah, I do think Boston's going to win this game. I just expect Jason Tatum dude, those first halves have been rough for him. And that is asking a lot for the Celtics to keep them in the game without his performance or him just shooting 0 for 10 from the field. That is a tough task to ask. Now, I will say this, Jalen Brown, I don't know what the hell is going on. I said last episode that I think he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't know what's going on, why he doesn't get the ball, why he doesn't demand the ball, why he doesn't shoot the ball more. I really do not understand it.
The
And
two stars are redundant. That's why.
You could say that, but there were times like, listen, man, Jason Tatum didn't have it going. Jalen Brown did. I don't know why he wasn't just getting the opportunities, why he can't just, instead of Tatum, Brown gets the opportunity. That doesn't compute in my brain why that can't happen. So yeah, they're going to need both their guys to show the hell up. And I think, listen, Joel Embiid, I've said a lot of times, he's a much easier man to slow down in terms of scoring. He's going to get to the free throw line. It's probably going to be like, he's probably going to shoot 10 free throws. I mean, he damn near averages that for the entire season. That's going to be tough to really stop him from doing that. But keeping him away from the basket, keeping him away from the post, forcing him to pass out and forcing the others to beat you, forcing a James Harden to beat you, forcing James Harden to be James Harden of what, game 1, game 4, which he's not going to be. John, I would like another apology from you.
Well, more importantly, by starting Robert Williams, forcing the PJ Tucker to kind of take those open looks where he's not always comfortable and ready to go.
Yeah, no. I saw that last year, PJ, and I love PJ. I saw it last year with Miami. He would make 1-3 early, and he'd miss all the other ones. Now, he's going to fight you on defense. He's going to give you everything he's got. But sometimes we can't have you – we can at times, but like when you're open, man, you're not making those shots. That's tough.
That's what Robert Williams is starting to do. Leave him in the corner and then rotate back out. I love that adjustment by Joel Mazzulla. It's been a bad postseason for him. He was saying in the middle of the series, well, yeah, after losing, what was it, game 4 versus the 76ers, their second loss of the series versus Philly. So, well, yeah, that was just our first bad game in the playoffs. I'm like, really, Joe? Like, remember when you lost game 5 against Atlanta and then lost game 1 on your home floor? Yeah, that was just your only bad game this postseason, sure. But there was one good thing that happened, and it was he finally moved Derek White to the bench and went to the lineup last year that got this team to the finals. It's no disrespect to White, but they still did not have enough juice offensively when they were starting an extra guard. So going back to the fabric of what this team does best, defending, they can get more stops and more transition opportunities, taking the stress and the onus off of Jason Tatum to be the man in the half court. That's why I think the Celtics are winning tonight. It also helps, of course, Doc Rivers on the other side, but by and large, this Celtics team has the clear advantage on the wings. PJ Tucker has done a phenomenal job this series guarding Jalen Brown, spooking him at the foul line too in game 5. But what it really will come down to is Jason Tatum is a streaky, inconsistent player that won't have 4 stinkers in a row in the first quarter. Jason Tatum will play pissed off tonight. And I'm very confident for a guy that was pretty terrible in game 6. I know he was impacting the game in other areas. He's pretty awful up until he scored 6-7 points in a 40-second span. He will play at the level of a top 10 player. As a playmaker too, Brandon, he's been very wobbly. At times, that would be the right way to define it because there's not much of a consistent in-between game for Tatum. But when it rains, it pours pretty quickly for him. And this feels a little like the game 6 last year versus the Bucks, where backs against the wall, Jason Tatum's not going to continue underperforming. He's too good of a player. And we saw that in his composure and focus at the end of a game 6, shaking off what was a 1-14 start. He had as many airballed layups in transition as he did makes. That's going to change today. I'm expecting Jalen Brown as well to have a larger role in the half-court offense because it's what makes clearly the most sense to me. And surely Joe Mazzulla knows more basketball than me. So,
yeah. So what would you? I don't want to word this. No, let's forget about that. We'll talk about that later. But so I do want to do this. And Justin's not here, so he's not able to speak on. I will do this. I'm going to give my respect to the New York Knicks, right? They fought. They had a hell of a season. Nobody, and including me, thought they would get past the first round. I was pretty firm on that they would be a first-round exit the entire year, and they were able to beat up on an inexperienced team in Cleveland. But I will say this about Jalen Brunson. He's a bona fide star. He has put himself into that stratosphere. You earn my respect. You earn a lot of people's respect when you can put on performances like he did against a Coach Spo led team, and a team like the Miami Heat that is defensively sound, tough, physical, grinding. When you're able to do that, you earn my respect, and you earn a lot of people's respect. So, tip of the cap to Jalen Brunson. He is a bona fide star in this league now, the number one guy in New York. As far as Julius Randle, gotta go. RJ Barrett. Yeah, RJ Barrett. Listen, he had a couple. He had some good performances. Overall, he had a pretty good performance from the two, basically. From the three, it was pretty streaky. The last game was god awful by him.
I want to credit him getting to the foul line 8 times in the quarter. It's 5 years in the NBA.
A couple of those were.
He bought himself an extra year in New York because he got going down low, and that's where he is most comfortable.
Yes.
I think next year he's going to redeem himself and have himself it's going to be a pretty good offseason. I don't think in the regular season where he struggled to beat his man one-on-one, that will be a consistent theme down the line. He's too good of an athlete, I'm pretty sure. And the three-point shooting stuff will improve, but his role should evolve in time, especially when you replace Randle with a more complementary featured forward.
Yeah.
But we cannot skip over Jalen Brunson, because I honestly think he's established himself as a top 20, top 25 player with performances like this. Mm-hmm. And people will say, well, John, you're kind of overreacting a little bit. In the last 2 years, he's 5th in playoff points behind the 2 Jays in Boston, Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry. He averaged 28 points per game this postseason, and when him and Jimmy Butler were both not 100%, they were the only stars worth watching in that Miami Heat series. On this show, we've actually praised Jalen Brunson. I would estimate probably 5 or 6 times during the season. But nothing we do can give him enough justice for the type of disrespect he got one offseason ago. My famous quote was, Jalen Brunson will not move the needle for the Knicks. They're at best a first-round exit. My expectation for this team was Julius Randle would struggle and kind of toil like he did a year ago, and they just wouldn't have that X factor. They got that X factor in the deadline in Josh Hart and BC. I mean, in Game 6, Josh Hart and Jalen shot almost 60% from the field. The rest of the Knicks shot 19%. There's no other way of putting it. Jalen Brunson is the Knicks franchise face. And if you didn't see that, I mean, the Heat were sending doubles and traps at him with no shooting. And up until the last possession, where he unfortunately had a very uncharacteristic turnover to end their season, Jalen Brunson handles the pressure, dude. And I've said multiple times on the show, if you are a young hooper out there, you've got to watch his tape. His angles, his use of manipulation. Even Vincent, before the games, telling reporters, look, I've got to mentally prepare myself to guard this guy. He's one of the strongest guards in the league, and he never relents. Every single possession is a new move, and he's always protecting the ball with those clean dribbles. His burst, Brandon, was what fell hit. That was literally his lack of explosiveness, what led him to fall into the second round. It's one of the most accomplished collegiate guards in recent memory. And in the NBA, that's maybe his best attribute, blowing by his man one-on-one. Who's better at this point? Jalen Brunson or Darius Garland? To me, it's Brunson. He's proven it in the playoffs again and again as number 2 and number 1. And that's my other point, Brent. Outside of Steph Curry, not too many point guards are going to be number 1 on championship teams. So when your point guard can thrive off of a Luka Doncic, who's one of the more difficult stars to play with, he is a championship player. I fucking love Jalen Brunson. He's awesome. He's one of the most enjoyable players to watch in the league, and he deserves the curse.
Shout out to Jalen Brunson. And I just want to give a shout out to my Miami Heat. You know, a lot of stuff was said on Twitter, on this show about other people. A lot of things also weren't said. A lot of coverage wasn't given to my Miami. It still isn't. It's honestly disrespectful in my mind. The lack of coverage we have gotten.
So what do you think about people out there saying, well, we know the Heat won't go to the finals, Brandon? Do you think some people are overlooking the Heat maybe because they're a little bit upset and disappointed that their team got maybe knocked out by them in the first or second round by any chance?
1,000%. This team is special. Saw some things on Twitter. This team's not special. This team is special. Special is being on the brink of being bounced from the entire playoffs by what was it, Chicago, Toronto? I can't remember at this point. So
The Hawks.
yeah, the Hawks. No, the team after that.
Bulls.
Yeah. Special is winning that game, going into a series against the number one seed in the entire NBA. Okay, a championship team, a team that we get there's nobody picking us to win this series. Special is going in there, not only beating them, dominating. 4-1 is domination. Special is going to the vaunted Madison Square Garden, taking game 1 and winning the series in 6. Special is having a team lose its second best scorer, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's special. Nobody wants to respect us. Nobody wants to talk about us. That's fine. Because you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it. We're going to take what you won't give us. We're going to take what we have earned. Okay? We're going to the finals. We are going to the finals. I told you, Philadelphia does not scare me. James Harden will choke again. He ain't beating us. Joel Embiid, we've dealt with him on multiple occasions. Okay? Boston, you were this close. This close. Inches. Okay? From not making it to the finals last year. Inches.
What happened in the 2020 bubble when they met in the conference finals? I'm forgetting.
Miami took them out.
Right. Thank you.
Took them out.
So
I'm out of bio with the finger block. With the finger. You thought I forgot?
Remember what Jimmy Butler almost did with the Bulls against the Celtics in 2017? Remember that, Brian?
Not really, but I don't care because I'm
Miami. Oh, no. Well, that's also where he was number 8 seed, and he beat a number 1 in the first 2 games of a playoff series until Rajon Rondo got hurt and won 2 games after. But look, the Miami Heat have beat the Celtics in 6 games before. And I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the winner of tonight's game in 6 again. Look, people don't like the Miami Heat for whatever reason, but this is one of the most enjoyable teams, at least from a narrative standpoint. They're not the most glamorous offensively, scoring 95 points every other night, but that's what Pat Riley wants. That's the identity of this team. They're 1990s basketball. It's probably why people in our generation don't like them. People 20 years older than us probably do love them because they're the closest thing you're going to get to 1990s hoops. I truly think Jimmy Butler at this point has established himself as an all-time playoff overachiever. And because of the fit of all these shooters, Max Strus and Duncan Robinson, giving them something different, each and every single one of them, Strus the transition player and defender, Duncan the floor spacer, to pair alongside Bam Adebayo, the best defender left in the Eastern Conference, maybe. It's only a matter of time before they get Tyler Hero back in the finals. Will they get him back in Game 3? Probably not, but in a Game 6 or 7, they could. And how crazy would that be? The guy broke his hands. I didn't think he'd be back in this postseason. Could be bounced 2 games, 4 days, 5 days later. And what it turned out was, well, the Miami Heat have the best coach in probably how long? Since Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson. Like, that's the camp of coaches Eric Spoelstra slowly but surely every other year putting himself into. It's all about how you respond. And if they can make it to the conference finals a 7-gamer with this lack of talent in consecutive seasons, we're looking at him the same way we did Larry Brown with the Pistons or Chuck Daly back with Isaiah Thomas. These gritty coaches that develop their talent and the playoffs just continue to overachieve against better quality teams. It's a work of art. Eric Spoelstra, man. Former video coordinator. Now the head of the Miami Heat.
Yep. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Yeah, it's not about if you get punched in the face. It's how you take it and respond. And we've shown, second best player goes down. Doesn't phase us. Next man up. Jimmy Butler's ankle touches the floor. Next man up. One thing is, I've seen a difference between me and other people is I already knew this. I'm very big on respect. I truly am. It's never given. It's always earned. And like I mentioned a little earlier before, the disrespect towards Klay Thompson. and other players too.
Which, to be fair, this postseason is warranted for Clay. I do want to
That's
add that.
fine. That's fine. But like saying things that are out of bounds is not
I
fair.
understand, but he was
Yeah.
awful in Game 6.
He is. I'm not. People can have bad series. Listen, and I'm building to that point. Have I ever been disrespectful towards Duncan Robinson?
No, you're probably Duncan Robinson stand, my friend.
Yeah, I am. And it's because of and I tweeted this, even when he's been struggling. You can check my timeline. I said, stay confident, Duncan. We believe in you. We got faith because we're going to need him. That's not that we're going to need him. He might not show up in that game. He might not show up in the next game, but we are going to need a 3-point sniper. You're going to need these guys. It's about staying confident in the players on the court. And I've got maximum. Listen, I was very rough on Gabe Vincent, probably not on the show, but to myself when I was watching the games. He has shown up and shown out. This whole team, Bam Adebayo. I love aggressive Bam. That man is the mid range when it's going, it's going. The physicality of that man. Listen, I questioned him. I'm not afraid to admit I questioned him on this show. Can he be a number 2 on a championship team? Prove me wrong. Make me a liar, Bam Adebayo. Make me a liar. Please make me a liar. This team has won me over so much because of the grit and the fight. We do not quit. We will not give in. It's not going to happen. It starts from the top all the way to the bottom. There's not a team that matches our toughness and our grit. I'm sorry. That's no disrespect to any other team. That's just a fact of Miami Heat culture basketball. You don't match us. So we'll see. Good luck to Boston. Good luck to Philadelphia. It'll be a hell of a Game 7. It'll be a hell of an Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see you in Game 1. Because guess what? I'll tell you this right now. Guaranteed. Miami's winning Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals no matter who wins Game 7. Book it.
Yeah. So we've talked about every single playoff team up until this point. Is there anything else to discuss in the playoff crucible that maybe we're forgetting? Let us know in the comments down below if there's some topic. We've talked about the Nuggets and saying I still don't think we've given Nikola Jokic enough credit. Jalen, Brunson, and the Knicks. And obviously, we just now discussed the Miami Heat versus the Celtics or 76ers. Outside that and the Warriors, is there any other topic? Let us know in the next minute or so. I truly think, though, dude, it's not even a debate anymore. Nikola Jokic is, right now, the best player in the world. Not just the best offensive center I've ever seen, because the guy is the most unbelievable offensive engine I've maybe ever seen. That might be a stretch because we've got Steph and peak LeBron, but I mean, to be the best passer at the center position, but also arguably the best scorer in the league at the same time, people always look at points per game, Brandon, and they say, well, Jokic averaged 24 this year, and Embiid averaged 33 points, so he's clearly the better scorer. And I'm kind of like, all right, so, buddy, let's look at it this way. In the playoffs, Joel Embiid's playoff totals always go down. But in the regular season, he averages 9 more points per game. I'm like, well, if you look at why he averages less points in the playoffs, but look at the numbers. 33 is more than 24. I'm like, I understand that, but Nikola Jokic can't be game plan against the playoffs. Like, Joel Embiid gets the foul. I'm like, okay, enough. Like, you can breathe. Nikola Jokic is just the more dynamic 3-level player. And I think he has a case of being the best mid-range scorer in the league, excluding Kevin Durant. But even then, because Kevin Durant can get bumped off his spots and he loses that rhythm sometimes on 3-point range, which is what he relies on more than Jokic as the thinner player, that's less post dominant. I think Jokic might be the more consistent scorer than Durant in the playoff crucible. That's what, if you're going to evaluate the best scorer in the league, he has to be able to rise in the playoffs. And Jokic, outside 2 bad game starts to Warriors last year, has risen every year in the playoffs offensively. And to make it even crazier, this is while relegating a lot of the responsibilities as a scorer to his other teammates. So it's not even a discussion. I think he has a legitimate underrated case of being the best scorer in the league. He just led the league in true shooting, which encompasses 3-throw percentage and 3-point, given your volume. This actually doesn't really incorporate the volume as much, but here's the volume: 25 points per game. So he's top 5, undisputably. I think so.
He's not. Yeah, he's next level. Like I've said, for me, the crown for best player in the world is up for grabs. I don't have a best player in the world right now. You've got some names up there right now that are contending for it, and Jokic is probably the lead dog for that contending for it. He's had a hell of a playoff run. Like I said earlier in the show, he is making the game of basketball look easy. He really is. That's why I'm very much looking forward to the Anthony Davis-Nikola Jokic matchup, because Anthony Davis has been looking all world defensively this playoffs, and that is going to be a fun matchup to watch. AD versus Jokic, offense and defensively. It's going to be a fun matchup. So, listen, I'm looking forward to Eastern Conference Finals. I know I'm going to be freaking that game 6, man. To be honest with you, I don't know how many other people do this, but for me, my team's in a big game or something like that, I stood for basically that entire game. I didn't take a seat. I knelt a couple of times here and there, mostly because some calls dropped me to my knees, basically. But for the most part, I was standing with my team the entire way through. I was not going to take a seat. So can't wait for Eastern Conference Finals. Can't wait for the Western Conference Finals. We're in the home stretch of the NBA playoffs, and this is where the movie really, really starts.
Correct. With all that out of the way, I'd like to thank everybody watching and stay to the very end on this glorious Mother's Day. That is a very, very nice gesture because you shouldn't be here right now. But of course, if you didn't enjoy and you stuck around, drop a like in the video and subscribe. It's the best way to help get more viewers onto the channel. I'm always like looking at my camera. I think that's the wrong place. This is the right place to look, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's all right. It's whatever feels comfortable to you.
Well, yeah, I don't want to look like I'm looking at the sky when I'm speaking.
So, yeah, right.
Camera. And of course, if you would like to, we have a Patreon exclusive account where if you want to get access to Q&As for upcoming discussions, no Patreon members yet, so we haven't launched the Q&A officially, but we will answer questions, feature video topics, and give shoutouts to anyone for as little as $1 a month. Feel free to check it out, or if not, just support the channel and share it with a friend.
Yes, that's it. Like the video, share the video, follow us on our socials, tweet at us. We love the interaction. Let's keep it respectful. We can have passion and stuff, but let's keep it respectful. You know what I mean? Level playing field. And let's go Miami Heat. Timothy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Coach Spo. Game 1, Tuesday. No, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Doesn't matter. Let's go. Like Justin said, I can't wait to see him on Thursday. I didn't get to have my moment today. On Thursday, Justin, it's on. All right?
Stay classy.